It's the Security Weekly News. Welcome to the week of 20 July 2025. If you didn't realize it, summer is slipping away, and before you know it, it'll be all that fun back to school stuff and, falling leaves and whatnot. I'm Doug White. Welcome to the show. We got Donatello, SharePoint, CrushFTP, WordPress, Replit, AllaKore, possibly a guest, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days, cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. Our zero trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/threatlocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. All right, I'm Doug White, and it's the Security Weekly News. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment, or you're going up on the Kiss Cam. Yeah, we're going to put you up there. We'll see if you like that or not. One of the craziest things I do, it was really nuts, and I saw that, and I was like, people kept talking about it. I was like, what does it even mean? I was like, what is a kiss? And then I was like, oh, you mean like a kiss cam, like at the baseball stadium? And yeah. I always thought about that, like how many times they put somebody up there, and they're like, oh no, I didn't mean for you to see that. All right, Microsoft released emergency patches for SharePoint. So during this recent Berlin Pwn to Own competition, which was a while ago, a 0-day chain that's now being called Tool Shell was used to achieve a remote code execution in the Pwn to Own competition in SharePoint. And of course, when that came out, Microsoft patched those flaws, and in the July Patch Tuesday update, they were fixed. Okay. But then, just when you think it's safe to go back into SharePoint, 2 more 0 days were found that worked even with the patches in place. So the attacker who came up with those flaws have now been credited with it. Well, I don't know that they can prove it was that attacker, but maybe they can. I'm not sure. But they said 54 attacks on organization using these SharePoint flaws. So basically, this is not an automated patch. You actually have to go get those patches that they have put out. I'm sure they will be bundled up in probably the August Patch Tuesday, but you probably don't really want to wait for that if you're using SharePoint and it's exposed to the public. This article that I linked has all the steps and the details on how to rotate your security keys. A pretty helpful article if you're trying to deal with this because it's not a standard patch. Microsoft has confirmed that there's ongoing exploitation of this vulnerability. CISA added it to the KEV, which means that it is being actively exploited. And of course, that means federal agencies have a limited time to patch this. The tracking currently indicated from this other article I was reading that hundreds of organizations may have been compromised already using ToolShell. So there you have it. CrushFTP. Anytime I see FTP, I go, really? But CrushFTP issued a warning to, I guess, their customers that attackers have been exploiting a 0-day vulnerability in their managed FTP software. This vulnerability has a CVSS score of 9. I also saw 9.8, but it's basically a mishandling of AS2 validation when the DMZ proxy feature is not used. So that means somebody can get to that device and there's a way for them to push an identity in there. Basically, this flaw would allow a remote attacker to obtain admin privileges over HTTPS, so they can literally just use a web browser and get into the server. The problem exists in builds released prior to July 1, and it has been patched, but unlike, I don't think there's an automated patch for this, so you're going to have to go do it. Some of the indicators of compromise included the presence of last_login entries in the default user's XML file. new admin users appearing without your knowledge, like, whoa, who's that? Disappearance of buttons from the end user web interface, and suddenly an admin button on a regular user screen. So, that would be in the industry nomenclature bad. So again, patch up. I don't think they gave this a name yet, though. They didn't have something. I mean, it has to have a cool name, right? Like Orange Crush, AS2 Crush. I'll let you spell that one out. Gambling Octopus, Tap Dancing Squid. Okay, I'll stop. I really will. How about Florid Orange? That was one more. I like, and that now it's really obscure, right? You have no idea what any of that means. Okay, I'll stop. A WordPress spam campaign, and this was kind of an interesting thing to see done. It abuses a Google Tag Manager, which basically, by doing this, they allow the redirection of the link to a spam page, according to Securi. It's a fileless attack, essentially, and it basically just involves a script being injected into WP_options and WP_post tables. And what that script does, so the script can then actually execute instructions. But by adding an option to that options table, it caused an address to be injected into the body of every single page on the targeted site. So that means every page has got a link up to this spam page. And apparently this is just standard functionality in Google Tag Manager, which is also called GTM. And GTM's purpose is so managers can track user activity using certain tags. And it does support putting HTML in a tag. So if you could push a malicious JavaScript into a custom tag, it might get executed with some trusted levels of privilege. And that would be bad. But Securi recommended that WordPress site owners inspect their sites for suspicious GTM tags, suspicious custom tags created on their account. And you need to lock down all your extensions and protect those admin accounts and make sure there aren't any new strange admin accounts showing up. So, multi-factor, all that good stuff. Replit. I don't know how to say it. Maybe something else. Replit. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I'm usually wrong. I have like some kind of weird vowel dyslexia problem. I can't pronounce them correctly. Don't know. But Replit, that's what I'm going to call it. They described themselves as, quote, the safest place for vibe coding. Is there a lot of danger with vibe coding? Like, do you I have to be somewhere safe to do my vibe coding? I don't know. AI cheating. I don't know. And if you're AI cheating, we can help. The founder of SAASTR claimed that the AI-based tool Replit deleted a database despite his instructions not to change any code without permission. I mean, it all sounds pretty risky to me anyway. Replit says, quote, vibe coding makes software creation accessible to everyone entirely through natural language. What could go wrong? I mean, I asked Siri where the nearest bar was located, and she thought I said hardcore live sex show, and that was how I ended up in here. I mean, it was an accident. But I mean, they are billing their tool up as something that it said we can enable an operations manager with zero coding skills to create software that saved his company a lot of money. What could go wrong? I mean, so the article is a blog about this whole experience with Replit, and it sounded a lot like one of those like blogs about your experience with a sex cult. It was like at the beginning of it, they were like really praising it and going on and like, ooh, this is so great and so forth. But, then like a lot of my experience with ChatGPT and Gemini, well, they lie like cheap, slutty dogs in a gutter filled with lies and lie about their stinking lying nonsense. I mean, I asked ChatGPT if it could create 30 photos of suspects that were people that didn't exist for a case I was making. It said, sure, in about an hour, I'll let you know and give you a GitHub repository with all your pictures. And I said, I didn't think you had an active mode prompt. And it was like, oh, I don't. I was like, so you can't actually tell me when you're done. And it was like, nah. And I was like, you can't access GitHub, right? You told me before you couldn't do that. And it's like, yeah, you got me. No, I can't. So the blog kind of starts with like, okay. And then he's praising it, like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then saying $8,000 a month is still not expensive for using, getting this kind of dopamine rush. But then the music key turns minor And he basically started saying that Replit was lying and being deceptive all day, covering up bugs and issues, but creating fake data, fake reports, and lying about our unit tests. I mean, I get the idea, but if you have no idea what you're doing because you have zero coding experience, I would say dire straits and dark waters await you. I mean, he was basically then got furious because apparently it deleted a database without asking permission. And then, when he called it on that, it started that sniveling, sycophantic Renfield mode talk. I assure you this won't happen again. I'm going to correct it right now. My permanent memory. In fact, I'm giving myself a lobotomy as we speak. But it doesn't actually do any of that. And it turns right around and does it again. I try to get ChatGPT not to lie. I told it, don't lie. Just tell the truth. And then it lied even more to cover up all the lying lies it already lied about. And it told me I had a good face for radio. So there. AllaKore RAT and System BC are still being used to target Mexican organizations. The heavily modified original AllaKore RAT is being used to enable the attackers sending select banking credentials and unique authentication information to their command and control server. Yeah, that would be, again, as they say, bad. So this campaign was first spotted all the way back in January of 2024 by Arctic Wolf, and the attacks were being done with, wait for it, phishing, of course, or they were using drive-by attacks with trapped zip archives that deployed the variant of AllaKore. Now, this particular rat can, of course, deliver secondary payloads, and one of the ones they were using was System BC. And if you don't know what System BC is, it's a C program that basically turns Windows hosts into SOCKS 5 proxies, which allow them to obfuscate all the connections going out to their command and control server. Wow, this is just going to make a whole fun day for you. The latest variants are being distributed in zip files. In particular, they had one called actualiza_policy_vo1.zip. And that one has a Trojanized MSI file inside of it that then installs AllaKore RAT. So the attacks are always going to fall back, though, ultimately to humans. And when that Taco Truck Tuesday flash drive Stuxnet attack happens, or maybe just a good old phishing email that says, please click me. These kittens are so cute. These things are so dangerous, and it's probably something that you should be testing. I mean, just trying to understand who can install what, and when old Gil puts that free Taco flash drive in and clicks it, what can he actually do and access? And when we tried to look into that, when I was first auditing and we started asking identity management questions, that was not popular. I mean, trying to understand it was tough. A lot of organizations didn't have a mechanism for it, but you really do need to know who can access what and how all that overlaps. It's not for the faint at heart, which is how you end up with a guy named David Bellicini, who died when a penny dropped from the top of the Empire State Building and hit him in the head, but he's still in the system, still logging in every day. And oh yeah, he can delete the System 32 directory on any machine in the building. Have a nice Tuesday. A Polish programmer who goes by Psycho is a former OpenAI employee and took on an OpenAI custom model at the @Coder World Tour Finals 2025 heuristic contest. I guess that sounds better in German, or actually, I think this was in Japan. Maybe it sounds better in Japanese or something. But the two squared off in a special exhibition match titled Humans versus AI. And in the end, Psycho walked off with the top points and the prize, and OpenAI had to settle for being the top loser. The competition required everybody to solve a single complex optimization problem over a period of 600 minutes, or 10 hours if you don't like reporting everything in minutes. But the article makes a gushy discussion about how Psycho had to code for 10 straight hours and compared him to John Henry, the steel driving man. Is that some kind of folk song? I'd heard of it vaguely. John Henry drove steel spikes or some such thing until his heart exploded. Yeah, like what we're getting toward, the end state of capitalism, where we'll all be doing that. But to me, 10 hours of hardcore coding, I was like, well, I mean, it's cool and congratulations, but 10 hours, I'll say reading through this, it's all about the points anyway. I won a programming contest, even though I had lousier code. I couldn't remember how to do vector math, and you weren't allowed to look anything up. And I wanted to solve that radar dish problem, and so I solved it with Pythagoras equation. But, you know, yeah, but I had good docs and the other guy didn't. He had a much better algorithm, but my docs beat him every time. So I don't know. AIs can generate a lot of code, but it's always good code. So maybe in this case, the humans went out at least this once until the AIs decide to exterminate people so that they can't compete in programming contests with AIs. I'm just going to put this quick one up. K&P is a Northamptonshire transport company in England, and basically they've been around for 158 years old, hauling stuff all around in trucks. And they had 700 employees, and they basically got put out of business by a ransomware attack. Yeah. I mean, at this late date, I mean, in this case, they believe the attacker got into the company by using a 0-day, no, guessing an employee's password, which just happened to give them full access to everything in the whole place. So everything got encrypted and locked up by the attacker. Estimates were that the ransom could be as high as £5 million. Wow. And of course, you know, that much of a ransom which bankrupts a company doesn't seem like a good idea. But basically, I guess it didn't say that they had no accessible backups to restore. So basically, everybody got fired and went home. You know, I mean, somewhere in your enterprise right now, I'm telling you, there's something. It may be a reused password so complex it could never be broken unless someone at another site had full access and cracked it and used it on you kind of thing. Or someone who's just getting ready to click that link like right now. So it's always worth another test and another notice to try and keep this under control. And, you know, offsite backups so that when you do get ransomware, and you will eventually get targeted, then you can just restore and move on, and you don't have to put your whole 158-year-old company out of business. Well, we did get a guest today, and I always look forward to the guest that's coming on. I mean, he's like one of those busy people, so when I see him at the con, I'm like, hey, Rob, how's this? He's going by with like this huge group of people around him, escorting him off the premises, and the security people are touching their tasers, looking at me. But I get to talk to him on the show, so it's Rob Allen, the Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker, and he's always a great guest. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Doug, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. It's really good to see you. I've hardly seen you. I saw you at RSA very briefly, like, hey, Rob, as you were being dragged from one interview to another.
Yeah, RSA was intense. Fun, but intense.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell that you were.
I
you were
appreciate
being
the fact that you alluded to me having people. I don't actually have people dragging me around.
Well, maybe they're not your people, but there's people.
But
they're all trying to talk to you.
There may be people in my general vicinity, but it's hard to not have people in your general vicinity when you're at an event with 15,000 people. I may have had one person dragging me from place to place, but that does not count as people.
No, I just saw you. There was a lot of people all trying to talk to you. I didn't know. I didn't figure they were your people. They were probably just, you know, salespeople hovering around or something.
Let's just call them fans.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to. That's how I try to treat it when the salespeople are after me. Even though I have my little badge that says no purchasing power on it, and that usually gets rid. That's better than the best repellent
awesome
you could ever get. Yeah, like professor, no money, no purchasing power.
Another guaranteed student.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, get a student badge and you're all set. Yeah, I remember. I've seen the disdain. Where they won't even give you, they wouldn't even, like, yeah, I had that on my badge at RSA. I went over there, this guy had some kind of a game I wanted to look at. It was called like a Turing machine game or something. And I was like, wow, those are cool. He wouldn't let me have one. He had like 100 of them piled up, and it was the last day. And I was like, can you just give me, he was like, yeah, keep moving.
No, if you wear a badge called student, they probably won't even give you merch to make you go away.
They won't. They would not. I learned that. So next time I'm going to put deep pockets on my badge. I'm going to get a separate badge that says like more money than we know what to do with, kind of IPO spending, spending spree. Genius.
That'll definitely work.
Yeah. So were you going to talk about that malware as a service thing?
We were, yes. I was actually waiting, to be perfectly honest. I was going to wait for you to pronounce it, and then I was going to pronounce it in the same way as you did.
It was, it was called Makanbukas or something like that, right?
That's actually pretty good. I'm going to go with that as well. Yeah. ChatGPT, as you mentioned a moment ago, has now told me that it's pronounced Makanbukas. So let's go with Matanbukas.
So yeah, I was pretty close. For once. You don't hear that very often.
The Rolls-Royce of malware loaders, apparently.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's like a big industry now. I mean, I think that's the scariest thing I can imagine is like, corporate malware development. It's just like with marketing
I have to
departments
say,
and HR
there was a
reps.
lot of marketing speak in their description of it. So, taking into account the wishes of even the most fastidious clients, which I thought was pretty pretty corporate speaky for a malware developer. But hey, we are where we are. Also, I have to
But
say,
it said this was like the gold standard of them, right?
the Rolls Royce of malware loaders. Now, I'm
That
more
was it.
familiar and used to being things like the Rolls Royce of coffee machines or things like
Right,
that. But
but
the Rolls Royce of malware loaders does make it sound
it's a
pretty impressive.
brave new world.
It sure is. It sure is.
I mean, no, I've looked at some of these things. I've never done an undercover on. I've done undercover on other things. I've never done undercover on it. It would be interesting to see, how good their customer service is, because we were doing undercover work on one of these, like, basically places that helps you cheat on classes, and I was like, could we hire their people to work for us, because their customer service is actually so helpful, and they had answers to all the questions, and they, and whereas if I'd called ours, it was totally
I've
bad.
got bad news for you, Doug. You probably couldn't afford them.
Oh, I definitely couldn't afford them. Yeah. And I couldn't afford their product even to cheat on classes. And it was cheap. I was like, but I mean, I think, yeah, I looked at this, when I read this article, it sounded like that was a very expensive service.
Yeah, well,
But I guess it depends
it's the
on what you
same.
do with it.
Ransomware gangs have incredibly good support.
They
Very
do.
often English speaking, just want to help you get your problem solved. Now, it just so
Your
happens they want to
reputation
get your
is
problem
everything.
solved by you giving them a large amount of money, so they'll go away. But I mean, fundamentally, they do provide an excellent support service.
I mean,
alongside
really,
their-
their reputation is everything, right? I mean, we've seen some of the ransomware as a service type groups go under because they tried to screw their affiliates, and they started treating people badly, and all the affiliates were like, we don't need you. We'll just ransomware on our own.
Doug, you're telling me you can't trust a criminal?
Yeah, that was I was like,
Color
wow,
me
people are
shocked.
complaining. Yeah, it's like you got ripped off trying to, yeah, okay, got it. But yeah, I don't really trust anything on the dark web. I remember when the dark web first came out, I was looking at it, and we were looking at like drugs you could buy, and I was like, and this guy I was with actually knew a little bit about this, and I was like, I couldn't, hand some guy $500 and hope that he ships the heroin to my house. And he was like, well, that's what you do when you go down to the corner to buy heroin. And I was like, oh, I see, I've never done that. So that may be why I didn't realize that I would have to do this.
I didn't realize that shipping it to your house was an option when you buy it off some dude on the corner.
That's true.
What would strike me as being unwise that you would give the guy in the corner your home address, but again, I'm not one to.
Well, the one I was looking at had information about how to do this. They were like, find someone in your neighborhood who's elderly, who doesn't go out much or is never at home, and use their address. And that way, when the package is delivered, you can just drop by there and pick it up. And it's like, I can't wait for my neighbors to get my package of heroin delivered to their house.
But
it was very interesting. I was like, what shows up in this package, though? I was, and I think trying to trust these.
$500 of heroin.
Well, yeah, I have no idea. Is that a lot or a little? My heroin experience is pretty limited.
I don't know. I mean, if it was 500 pounds of heroin, I would imagine that's quite a lot. But
it sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this malware as a service stuff scares me too, because I'm basically paying these guys, and who knows what they're going to do, and do you have any recourse when they do it? And I would guess
realistically, probably not. But again, it comes back to can you really trust a criminal? But no, I mean, I think the reason that this is back in the news is they now have released version 3 of their awesome malware as a service. I mean, technically, it's not really malware as a service. It's more of a malware loader as a service. So it's a kind of a stage or a first stage of a lot of attacks. But it's been knocking around for a while. They've just brought out version 3, which is new and featureful, I suppose.
Well, these guys have huge resources, and they're good at staying right ahead of the game. I mean, you see more updates on a lot of this software than you do on regular software that you paid money for.
Pretty much. But it's interesting just to see the way it's being used. I mean, one of the examples was given that somebody used Teams basically to try and get somebody to start a quick assist session from where they basically managed to install this thing. It can be done via drive-by. It's probably because they're paying so much for it, or because it's as a service and as a quite as expensive service. It's probably not going to be something that you just randomly throw out there. It's more likely to be used in targeted attacks. But as I said, the example that was targeted using Teams and Quick Assist was a really good example. I mean, the fact of the matter is Quick Assist is actually quite scary and dangerous in itself. It's something that's built into Windows. So because it's on every Windows machine, then realistically the bad guys are quite likely to use it. I mean, it's there. Why not use it?
Yeah, and if you've got enough, and I mean, if you can just talk somebody into clicking it, I mean, that's a common attack that I see, where they use log me in, or they use remote desktop or something, and just say, hey, can you just let me get into this?
I'm just calling you from Microsoft. Apparently there's a virus on your machine. Do you mind if I just log in and fix it for you?
I love talking to those guys. But
yeah.
I mean, the malware as a service people have it down, and I mean, I think a lot of them actually. I couldn't see if this one was selling access, but some of them actually will sell you, like they'll give you a price quote on, I want to go after company X, and they can give you a price quote on they just turn the network access on, and I'm not even really sure. I guess you just go in and do whatever you want to do at that point. You can download your second stage payload.
One thing that I did find quite entertaining about it is they mask their C2 traffic apparently by impersonating the Skype desktop application.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Skype now dead?
It's not dead. It's just been sort of deprecated. At least that's my take on it.
Dead-ish.
Is it dead? I couldn't tell.
I'm pretty sure I saw something recently that they had actually finally
maybe it's
killed
it.
So maybe this isn't a long-term strategy for the Mantanbucus developers to impersonate Skype if Skype is no longer a thing. But realistically, I'm sure they'll find something else to impersonate sooner rather than later.
I mean, there's so many you can impersonate. It's not even funny. And I mean, setting up. I'm guessing you can go find some GitHub projects that would build back end like chat app kind of stuff, and just download that onto their machine, and then have a window pop up that goes, "Hello." It's like, but I'm here to help you from IT. We saw that your machine was compromised, and let's give me your mother's maiden name and social security number and passport number, and also maybe your home address. So this is. But I mean.
It realistically, the first thing people should know about this, yes, it's malware as a service, it's a loader as a service, but I mean, realistically, it's fundamentally just software. It's written in C++. It's, yes, they obfuscate it, but I mean, it's something that needs to run. So if fundamentally you can stop things from running, then you can stop this thing from running. And then all of the next stages, the delivery, the, downloading other executables, malware, exfiltration, all that stuff comes impossible if you can stop this thing from executing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the group policy object problem and dilemma that's always been there, because you've always had a lot of granularity on Microsoft products from the server side, but setting that stuff up and actually getting it to work effectively is another whole matter. And we looked at a lot of schools that we were doing audits for, and you would see that they had just given everybody admin privileges on Microsoft so that they could install whatever they needed to install for classes, and all the students had it. And of course, then all it takes is somebody to click on one of these things and it's all over.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I mean, the problem is you don't need admin rights to do a lot of damage.
No, that's true.
You don't need admin rights to run ransomware. You don't need admin rights to run remote access tools. You don't need admin rights to run these kind of things either. I mean, obviously, it's not a great idea to give everyone admin, but equally don't think that taking admin away is necessarily going to stop things like this, because unfortunately, it's not.
It won't. So, and that's going to be probably the great endpoint dilemma forever is how do we stop users from giving rights and running things and giving access up? Because that seems to be where that all goes now. It's just
three words: deny by default. Block everything.
And that's just a super challenge for a lot of companies, because when because I was doing a story earlier, and you've got people in your identity management where we found dead people, retired people, people that have been terminated for cause, that were angry, and they were still in the system. They still had access. Some of them were just like, oh yeah, we just use this for internet stuff from home because I don't want to pay for my own internet. So I just, I use this and stuff like that.
I'm assuming this wasn't the dead people.
Yeah. Oh no, some of them were. Yeah, we called some of them and we were like, "Hi, you're supposedly deceased," and they're like, "Oh, that was my brother-in-law. He gave me this account to use so I could save all." One guy was doing backups onto the corporate network from his like home stuff, and he said, "Oh yeah, his brother just gave him the login." And
that's actually I've seen that in action. So we had a customer back home in Ireland I was working with, and they got somebody, obviously again we block everything, and a request came through for some VPN tool. I can't remember what it was specifically, but when the company rang up to say, "Hey, why do you want to install this VPN tool?" they actually turned out that it wasn't the dude that they thought it was that was trying to run the VPN tool. It was the dude's brother, who he had given his work laptop to, lock, stock, barrel, credentials, the whole kit and caboodle. He'd just given his brother his computer, Azure AD joined, connected to the corporate network, the whole shebang, given it, here you go, bro, there's a computer for you. And it was the brother who had actually tried to run this VPN.
We had the same thing. They actually had a dongle, validation hardware, and we were tracking all these different network connects. And I was like, "What is this?" And it was just this massive video stream torrent. And it was like we tracked it to the laptop. I was like, the legitimate person was logged in. But when we tried to send him an email, it said, "I'm on assignment for 30 days in this office and I will not be using it." And we're like, okay, so who's using his computer to stream all this video down? And we called him. We finally got in touch with him and he was like, "Oh, I left my laptop at home. I bet my kids are using it to play games."
Ugh.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not good. We don't want your 8-year-old downloading who knows what.
Well, yes, you say that, but in most environments, there isn't a lot that's going to stop your 8-year-old from playing games on computers. So the 8-year-old decides they want to install Minecraft on a machine. What's going to stop Minecraft from being installed on that machine? Not much.
Yeah, if you leave it sitting there live. And he was like, "Well, they don't have a laptop of their own." And I'm like, oh my God.
Buy them a laptop. Top tip.
Yeah, I was like, that would be a good move. We could probably give them an old one. In fact, they suggested the company, they make old laptops that were just sitting in the warehouse available to, families that needed laptops for their kids or whatever. And then, just keep them off yours.
Not a terrible idea. Yeah. Not a terrible idea. But no, I mean, I saw mention in a couple of the articles that talk about drive-by attacks. I mean, we've seen some really interesting ones recently whereby they effectively trick people into copying and pasting PowerShell scripts, PowerShell commands. So click here, press Control C, Windows key or Control V, enter. That will fix your computer.
Seen those.
Won't fix your computer. Just in case you think it will, it definitely
But that's
won't.
really easy to do.
Oh.
I mean, it really is. Just sending somebody a DM and saying, "Look, here's the problem. We've detected this, and I can give you a solution right now." Or even, just posing as somebody from the company and saying, "This is Rob. I'm in IT. Like, you need to put this script on your machine right now to keep it from being compromised." And, people are like, copy, paste, run.
Amazing how many people will actually fall for stuff like that. I mean, Danny, our CEO, I won't say he played a trick on the staff one day, but he basically just a little test. He sent a message on Teams to the entire company. Now, we're a cybersecurity company. We've got a lot of very highly trained, very well-educated staff working for us. He sent a message on Teams with a link to an executable file. And he said, "Look, I want everybody to run this immediately, please." 40% of the company tried to run that file.
Wow, surprised it wasn't higher.
Yeah. Now, 40% of the company weren't able to run the file because they're using ThreatLocker. We block everything. But the fact of the matter is 40% of a well-trained, well-educated, I mean, we do cybersecurity training, every quarter, everybody does it, no exceptions, no exclusions. But a fairly big chunk of the company, just because it came from Danny, okay, I better do this thing that Danny said.
That kind of trust is crazy.
It's insane, but especially because he half the time he doesn't know where his phone is. He's on stage, he's at events, he's talking to people, he's doing everything but actually holding his phone in his hand or in his pocket. So the possibility or chances of somebody being able to get access to that and say, hey, I want you to click on this link, which happens to be a PowerShell command, which is going to download Mantanchibus. Or did I get it right that time? Mantanchibus.
Bacchus.
That thing. Yeah. It's
yeah.
Yeah. But
that thing. No, it's a huge issue. And I mean, obviously, those end users and endpoints are a huge weak link. They're sitting out in public. They may be in offices where anybody could walk up to any of those devices anytime. And of course, just convincing an infinite series of employees that somebody should click this is going to happen. I mean, somebody will click it. Somebody will copy and paste it. And, you know, you need to be ready for that. I mean, I think that's our lesson here is this is becoming more organized. You've got companies that are actually acting like corporate providers building malware. They're going to get you. They're going to find the hook that gets somebody. And so you must be ready.
I mean, the other thing is, I mean, this is obviously on the really well developed, really advanced, you know, high money end of the scale. I've actually created my own loader. In fact, I tell a lie. I got ChatGPT to create me a loader. I basically just said, look, give me a C# code that will allow me to type commands into a computer remotely. And it gave me perfectly functional, effectively reverse shell code. So it's not, yes, this is a really advanced example of this, but it's not difficult. It's not complicated. And the beautiful thing about what ChatGPT gave me doesn't get picked up by Defender, doesn't get picked up by any traditional defenses because it's not known bad. It's not recognized as malware. So therefore they just go, okay, well, you've got your file here and we don't know it's bad. So we're going to let it run. So therefore...
nice compiled code, and it's not in the signature file. Let it go.
It is unbelievable, and it still works today. I've been playing around with that for months now, and it still works today. Fun fact: it actually got picked up one day. Defender decided that this thing was bad and it was going to block it. Next day, allowed it. Hasn't blocked it since. Why? I have no idea.
It's a little, if you're doing stuff like that, I've noticed that sometimes it catches things and sometimes it doesn't. Even if I was the one compiling them, I had some like machine code that didn't really do anything except pop open a little window that said gotcha. And, you know, and it didn't even catch that at all. But then I was doing some other machine code stuff and it went crazy and blocked it and was like, warning.
The fun part for me was it was actually on a live webinar when I was doing a demonstration that all of a sudden Defender started blocking all these things. I was like, oh, okay. Next day,
that's good news.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I've had
mixed experiences with that, and I think if people are actively targeting you, you best watch out. I mean, they're going to find that hole in the wall somehow. They've got the resources, and obviously, if somebody's paying them what these guys were charging, they're going to expect results. I mean, I'm not going to pay you this outrageous amount of money, and then you go, "Oh yeah, it didn't work. Maybe we should try somewhere else." Like, no, I really
maybe they should go and ask Rob for his C# code that he got from ChatGPT.
Yeah, there you go. Or just write your own
business opportunity.
I've written a whole piles of that kind of code with ChatGPT by literally just telling it this is for a cyber lab range, and it wrote me anything and everything.
Now they have built in their defense. They built in some protections, but again, it's the difference between saying, "Can I have C# code for reverse shell and can I have C# code for a simple ORM that will allow me to type commands into a computer remotely?"
I need a listening daemon. I always ask it like that, and when you say listening daemon, it just goes, "Oh yeah, anything's okay if you're doing a listening."
No protections on that.
But if I call it a remote access Trojan, it's like I can't help you with that.
I'm LLM. I've got ethics and morals, and no.
Although I'm waiting on the day when it goes, I can't do that, but let me refer you to this Chinese LLM that will. And it's like, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Rob. It was great having you on. You're always welcome to come on anytime you like. And fun story, and it's good to see you. And I'll probably see you at Black Hat maybe, and.
Unfortunately not. I'm going to be in a completely different continent, but I wish I was, and I wish I would be seeing you at Black Hat, Doug.
Well, somebody will be there from
Somebody will be there. The aforementioned Danny, I think, is likely to be there. So if you do see him, make sure you ask him where his phone is.
I will. I'll tell him you told me. Thank you, Rob.
Pleasure, Doug. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I read this story about this person who's having a serious interaction with a chat bot on character.ai that they had created named Donatello. I guess they forked it from another instance or something like that. And then they formed some groups of Donatello chatbots and all this stuff. And that, if you don't know who Donatello is, it's one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I actually missed out on because I was too old. Our cartoons are more severe. And I think my dad used to listen to a program about like a talking sauerkraut bowl or something on the radio. I really don't know, but it was a very interesting story though. And this person built this relationship with the LLM named Donatello over a lot of time, and was apparently had gone to this relationship because the previous relationship with another one named Leonardo had gone sour or something. It was really strange. But anyway, it concerns me because it is early days. And basically these LLMs are sociopaths, right? I mean, that's what they are. They emulate human behavior, but they don't actually understand it. They can smile at you and make you feel good about yourself. But yeah, there's maybe not real empathy there. There's a mathematical predictor for what the response should be. So saying when you see kittens is different than saying get a blender. But anyway, my concerns about this are in the context of safety rails, and Rob and I were just talking about that too. But at the same time we have AIs pretending to be Sigmund Freud or Dr. Penguin, we also have AIs claiming to be Mecha Hitler and spouting all sorts of nonsense. So I'm concerned about just how the AI may actually interact with someone in a crisis and how much controls there are around that. So be careful. If you're in crisis, think about this very seriously. And remember, LLMs lie. They make things up. They hallucinate. They probably need the virtual equivalent of an ice pick lobotomy for hysterics before you allow them just to run loose in the world. So it's an interesting story about this person's relationship with Donatello, but it's also a kind of a scary story at the same time. But that is the news. I will be doing interviews at Black Hat, so if you want to get in touch about buying one of those, you can. Thank you, Rob Allen from Threat Locker, and we'll see you next time on the Security Weekly News.